This tutorial on free internet legal research will introduce you to alternatives to fee-based research databases. After watching this tutorial, you should be able to locate and use free primary and secondary resources and to understand how they fit into an effective research strategy. The key to being an effective researcher is to develop a plan. Regardless of whether you are using free or fee-based resources, the strategy remains the same. Your first step should be to analyze the facts of your case and develop a statement of the issues. Then generate a preliminary list of relevant keywords and concepts. Your next step will differ depending on how much you already know about the issue you are researching. If you have a familiarity with the area of law and already know the terms of art relevant to your issue, then you may be able to begin by looking for a statute or appropriate case law. More often, the situation will arise where you are asked to investigate a topic that you know nothing about. Begin by looking for an overview or summary of the issue so you can develop a basic understanding of the law before looking for statutes or cases. Often, these summaries can help you identify new issues, revise your list of keywords, and will provide you with references to the relevant primary authority. Traditionally, legal researchers have looked to secondary sources like the Legal Encyclopedia, Illinois Law and Practice, or treatises such as these, as places to read an overview or summary of the law. Now, a variety of secondary sources are available online for free. Let's imagine you work for a firm that represents Steve. Steve says that Big Earl's restaurant is using his picture on its billboards without his permission. Steve knows Big Earl is doing this to make fun of him for undergoing gastric bypass surgery because it means he can no longer eat his favorite food, bacon. Steve wants Big Earl to take the billboards down and pay him for the embarrassment the ads have caused. You are asked to work on Steve's case and told to look into the right of publicity. You don't know anything about this cause of action, whether it is a state or federal claim, or whether statutory or common law governs. So where do you start? One suggestion to get you started is WEX from the Legal Information Institute, or LII at Cornell. WEX is a free online legal encyclopedia. Think of it as a legal Wikipedia where the entries are written by legal scholars and attorneys. You can either browse the encyclopedia entries or enter a search by keyword, like publicity. WEX gives us a one-sentence summary of this cause of action. It also tells us that only half the states distinctly recognize a right of publicity, while the other states include it in the more general law of unfair competition. WEX includes a link to a free copy of the Restatement of Torts where you can do some additional background reading, suggests other places to look for further information, and under the Resources tab, it directs you to places where you can search for recent cases and provides the title of a relevant treatise from West. WEX is just one example of the kind of free websites that offer basic explanatory information on numerous areas of law. Let's take a look at just a few other examples of reputable free websites. Justia.com provides detailed overviews of many different practice areas, such as this summary of trade secrets law. It describes what trade secrets are, how state laws protect them, and what federal laws exist in the area. At first glance, FindLaw.com appears that it is only designed to help someone find an attorney, but in the Learn About the Law section, it also includes overviews of the law, such as this guide to bankruptcy basics. Finally, the Illinois State Bar Association's Legal Resources page also offers basic guides to many legal issues, such as this overview of the adoption process in Illinois, which references the relevant Illinois statute, the Illinois Adoption Act. As you can see, these free resources provide only the most basic overview of a topic. If you are researching a recent trend or new development in the law, or are looking for a more in-depth analysis of an issue, a law review or bar journal article may be helpful. Let's go back to our hypothetical client, Steve. Much to Steve's chagrin, Big Earl's advertising campaign has become wildly popular. The photos of Steve from Big Earl's ad are now appearing on Facebook and Twitter. There's even a video on YouTube featuring Steve in that silly crown. Given that the prevalence of social media is a relatively new occurrence, there may be new developments in the law related to the right of publicity, so this is the kind of topic for which scholarly articles will have been written recently. So where do you find scholarly articles for free? You might be surprised, but Google is the answer. However, instead of just going to Google and using a basic search, try looking for articles using Google Scholar. Google Scholar is a separate scholarly search service available at scholar.google.com. Let's try a sample search for right of publicity and social media. When searching in Google, if you are searching for an exact phrase, put it in quotes to retrieve more relevant results. Also, the order in which you enter your keywords matters. Google's search results take into account the order of your search terms, giving the most weight to the first words, so enter the most important words first. Here in Google Scholar, your search results are limited to scholarly articles and professional journals. Some results will include the full text of the articles, while others have only abstracts or summaries. One tip to retrieve the full text of more articles is to adjust your settings in Google Scholar to connect with the John Marshall Law School. Under Library Links, search for the John Marshall Law School and select all the options to connect with our library. Your search results will now include links to the full text of articles that we have access to through our subscription databases such as JSTOR, EBSCO, and Hein Online. Note that you can also limit your search results by date if you only want to see the most recent articles. After limiting our search results to articles that have been written after 2008, the first result is now an article titled, "The Growing Need for the Illinois Right of Publicity Act to Respond to Online Social Networks." From the title alone, we have learned that there is a statute governing the right of publicity in Illinois, which tells us that the next step in our research plan should be to locate the text of the statute. But before we do that, let's see what else we can learn from this article. After following the link from Google Scholar, we can see that this article has been posted to SSRN. SSRN, or the Social Science Research Network, is the digital repository where scholars post copies of working papers of their articles in progress such as this one. For this reason, it is a great place to find the newest articles that are not available in other journal databases yet. Articles that have been posted to SSRN often appear in Google Scholar search results, but you can also search this database directly at ssrn.com. A word of caution about relying on articles in SSRN. While it is great to find articles before they have been published anywhere, that also means that they have not been through a formal editorial process, so their accuracy has not been verified. As with all secondary sources, this is a great place to get background information, but make sure you go on to read and evaluate the relevant statutes and cases yourself. Having done your background research, you have gained a basic understanding of the right of publicity. The next step in an effective research strategy is to locate the relevant primary authority. At this point, you may already have citations to statutes and cases, or you may need to search for them using the revised list of search terms you developed during your initial search. We learned from our article search that Illinois has a statute called the Right of Publicity Act, but where do we find the text of Illinois statutes for free? ILGA.gov, the official website of the Illinois General Assembly. ILGA.gov can be used to find information about bills currently pending before the General Assembly, to read legislative histories of acts, and to locate the administrative regulations of Illinois. But for now, we will focus on the Illinois compiled statutes. Your instinct will lead you to use the search box located in the left column of the screen, but don't attempt to search the Illinois compiled statutes here. This search box actually defaults to searching all the bills introduced before the House and Senate. Instead, click on the search link at the top of the Illinois compiled statutes page. Here, we can either search by keyword or by the name of the act. The article on SSRN informed us that the name of the statute is the Right of Publicity Act. But even if we didn't know that, we could just enter a general keyword search. Our search returns a link to the statute, and here we can see the text of the Illinois Right of Publicity Act, which you would want to read in its entirety if you were researching this issue. Note that the Illinois General Assembly includes a disclaimer before the text of the statute stating that updating the website is an ongoing process and recent laws and amendments may not yet be included in the ILCS database. For this reason, it is essential to update your statute using a citator like Shepard's on Lexis or Keysight on Westlaw. You may also notice that the statutes provided on ILGA.gov are not annotated like you would find on a commercial service like Lexis or Westlaw. The only additional information you will find is a source note telling you the date the law was enacted. This statute became effective on January 1, 1999. If the statute had been amended since then, you would also find source notes with the dates of those amendments. Compare the copy of the Illinois statutes from ilga.gov with an annotated statute like this version from Lexis. After the text of the statute, the annotations include summaries of cases that address this specific statutory section. Going back to ilga.gov, our free version of the statute only includes the text of the law, with no references to how that law is being interpreted by the courts. So where do you find case law for free on the internet? Once again, Google is the answer. One of the best places to locate cases, whether by citation or by keyword search, is Google Scholar. We used Google Scholar earlier to locate scholarly articles, but this database also includes both federal and state case law. After reading the text of the Illinois Right of Publicity Act, you probably want to see how the courts are interpreting the statute. Go to scholar.google.com and start by entering a basic keyword search. Note that Google Scholar defaults to searching for articles, but you can also choose to search for legal documents, which includes court opinions. Your initial search results will include cases from federal and state courts all across the country, but you can select a jurisdiction to narrow your results from the left side of the screen. As we saw earlier, you can also limit your search result by date. Our first case in the search results is from 1970. We learned from reading the statute that the Act was adopted in 1999. Prior to that adoption date, this cause of action was governed by common law. Now that a statute exists, let's focus our search to cases that were determined after 1999, since we want to see how the courts are interpreting that specific statute. The results are ranked by Google Scholar's search algorithm, which is based on some combination of the relevance, frequency of search terms, and number of times the case has been cited. Let's take a look at the first result, Blair v. Nevada Landing Partnership. The cases included in Google Scholar include the full text of the case with the page numbers of the reporters noted in the margin, but these cases do not have the editorial summaries and headnotes that you would find in Lexis or Westlaw. Google Scholar also does not include a citator like Shepard's or KeyCite that informs you if the case has been overturned. It does include a How Cited feature where you can see all of the cases that cite to this particular case. This is a great tool for finding additional cases that are relevant to the issue that you are researching. The How Cited feature displays previews of other cases that cite Blair v. Nevada Landing case. Over under Cited By, the bars next to the citation tell you the depth of treatment in the citing case, with 3 bars being the most discussion of the cited case. But this feature does not tell you whether the discussion is positive or negative. Unfortunately, there is no good free alternative to Shepard's or KeyCite at this point. For this reason, it is still a good idea that the final step of your research is always to update using one of these commercial services. ILGA.gov and Google Scholar are the best places to look for Illinois statutes and cases, but what if you have a federal issue or are dealing with a case in another state? The Public Library of Law, available at plol.org, serves as a portal to case law, statutes, regulations, and court rules for federal laws in all 50 states. It contains a limited database of case law provided by the commercial vendor Fastcase, and it links to websites containing the full text of federal and state statutes. By clicking on statutes, you can select your jurisdiction and then be directed to a website where you can either search or browse the relevant codes. The Public Library of Law will direct you to the relevant government agency responsible for publishing the codes. For example, the link to the U.S. Code directs you to the website of the U.S. House of Representatives, while the link to the Florida Code directs you to the website of the State of Florida Legislature. The Public Library also serves as a portal for the rules for both federal courts, like the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, and state courts, like the Illinois Supreme Court. The Public Library of Law is a great resource for free online legal information. For additional tips on how to search for cases and statutes, check out these short tutorials found on the main page of the Public Library of Law. Now that you've read the relevant statutes and many cases interpreting that statute, how do you know when you can stop researching? A good rule of thumb is that if you keep seeing the same answer over and over in the many resources you consulted, you can be confident that your research is complete. As a final reminder, your last step should be to use citators like Shepard's or Keysight to make sure that the authority you are relying on is still good law. This tutorial was designed to give you a brief introduction to the free legal research resources available online. For more information and for links to these and other resources, check out the free legal research guide available from the library's website.